All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn here on the Edge of Philly Sports with your boy Matty B, and my boy Kyle is over there. Kyle Quinn joins me as he has throughout this season, third week in a row now for his new show, the Birds Blast. Kyle, I see you made it through the bye week intact. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Yeah, it was hard to get through. No Eagles football, a little tough, but they're back. You still gotta wait an extra day though, because they're playing Monday night, of course. We can never get those 1 o'clock, those Sunday games, but I'm itching a little bit, but we gotta. Well, it's Thursday, I guess. So I'm sorry for all the listening audience. So
Saturday.
yeah, hope a good football game tonight. So I'm ready to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, me too, Kyle. And you mentioned the scheduling. Obviously, when you're a national draw and you're a Super Bowl finalist the year before, that's pretty much comes with the territory. But we've talked about this in nauseum on our shows here together. Only one more 1 o'clock game, three total for the whole season. The next 1 o'clock game, I want to say, is sometime in January against the Cardinals. I mean, is anyone even going to show up for that one? But yeah, you're right, Kyle. It doesn't make it a little bit more tedious to have to wait that extra day. But game day is coming, and before we get into the X's and O's, because both these teams are coming off bye weeks, so that's pretty much level playing field. But we're going to get into some X's and O's. But before we do that, Kyle, I got to ask you something that's been kind of bothering me about this matchup, but it kind of relates. The Travis and Jason Kelsey phenomenon that has kind of gripped the United States or the NFL or pop culture, to be more specific. Kyle, have you had enough of this?
I mean, I don't really pay too much attention to it, so I can't say like I'm tired of. Like I don't. It doesn't. I don't really. I guess it doesn't bother me just because I don't really like notice it or think about it as much as other people do. It's just kind of on the side for me, and I don't really get too worked up about those kind of things. They can have their fun. It's not really, no skin off my back. I'm just here to watch a football game. I mean, I tune out commercials pretty well. I tune out pretty much everything else besides the football pretty well. So the Taylor Swift thing doesn't really bother me. But
No, I didn't even mention Taylor Swift yet. I'm talking the Jason and Travis thing. The podcast, which is an awesome podcast. The biography that Jason Kelsey made about himself on Amazon Prime, really good show. I'll give it its credit. Travis Kelsey's appearing on this year's Eagles Christmas album, Kyle. To me, it's kind of going a little bit too much there.
I mean, I could see why you might think that. I don't, like I said, it doesn't really bother me.
Okay, well, it bothers me, Kyle, so that's why I brought it up.
That's fine. I'm glad it does bother you, Matt. I don't know when they recorded the Christmas album. I would have to assume that it wasn't during the week where they're preparing to play each other. So, they're brothers. They're going to have their fun. Jason seems like he's pretty much all but on his way out. This is going to be his last year, so he's living it up as much as he possibly can.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I just saw that Kelsey thing this week, and Kyle, you got the last little. You broke the news, man. Congratulations! When I heard your voice, I almost fell out of my chair, man. Good for you, Kyle Quinn.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even know I was going to be in it. So when I heard for the first time, it was just as much of a surprise to me. So
I didn't see your name on the end, though. I didn't see naming rights there, so you may have to contact Amazon and see what you can do with that. But
yeah,
good job, Kyle Quinn. That's a man on the rise.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, again, before we break this down, I just want to let everybody know that I know the scenery behind me might look a little different. This is not usual my palatial digs. I am on the road this weekend. The show must go on. I am in Lake Placid, New York, getting ready to work a hockey tournament. But I'm not going to let that stop me from my appointed rounds. I'm better than the U.S. Post Service. All right, Kyle. Monday night, Eagles-Chiefs. 27-4 is Andy Reid's record coming out of the bye. He is undefeated against the Eagles. It's in Kansas City, Super Bowl revenge game. Yes, no, I don't know. In a nutshell, Kyle, what do you think you're going to see under the bright lights over there in Jihad Stadium on Monday night?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty hard-fought game. Both teams, like you said, coming off the bye. Eagles going on the road. Chiefs are a tough opponent. They're probably, either one or number two, three. They're top three, I think, at the very least, football team in the entire NFL. So, while the offense isn't playing really great at all, in fact, not well, the defense is playing. It's probably the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has had. So I think it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a tough one for the Eagles to squeak out. I think the Eagles have the chops to go toe to toe with them. So I think it's going to be a really hard fought battle.
I agree, Kyle, and we're going to get a little bit more deeper into the potential ramifications of how important I think this game is for this team a little bit later on. But let's change attention to the my favorite segment of our time together, Kyle, and that's the uniform report here. Eagles have announced, and I don't know if this is because I've been wrong before. I see it in print, but I've been wrong before. But we're going with the Wentz Whites on Monday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs on their traditional home reds and white bottoms. Kyle, again, you want to chime in? I'm not going to stop asking about this, but what do you think about the Wentz Whites on this late in the season?
Yeah, I'm out on the Wentz Whites as always. Just not a big Wentz Whites guy.
Yeah, me either. Injury, the weather in Kansas City. Now that might factor into this, Kyle. They're calling for rain, high of or low of 37 degrees on Monday night. Kyle, with this football team of the Eagles, that is its inability to kind of commit to the run game, is that potentially the Eagles kind of walking into a little bit of a trap there with the potential weather situation in Kansas City?
Well, no, I think if anything, it gives them more of an excuse to try and run the football. They're going against a team that, well, I think has a really good defense. They are susceptible to the run, and if they think that the rain is significant and they can't throw the football, then I don't see why they wouldn't try to lean on the offensive line and the running backs. I mean, look, Jalen Hurts has the knee brace come off. He said that he's feeling good after the bye week today earlier, which is Thursday. Sorry, not Saturday.
Yeah,
but
Saturday.
But I think, and Cam Jurgens is coming back. So I'm hoping to see the run game sort of pick up a little bit where it left off before some of those injuries happened. So I don't think that the rain's going to stop them from running the ball. If anything, I think it's going to more empower them to do it.
Kyle, if they end up having issues with the turf because of the weather, you're not going to blame the turf, are you?
Well, it depends if the sod father is the one that's maintaining it before the game. I have beef with that guy. I don't know if he's 90 years old or what, but I still want to kick that dude's ass for what he did.
Amazing.
Yep.
Absolutely, utterly amazing. We're not going to blame the defense. We're not going to blame John Gannon. We're going to blame the groundskeeper.
I'm not blaming the turf. I didn't blame the turf at all. I'm just saying that, if things might have been a little bit different had it been a normal field. That's all.
A little bit different if what's-his-face didn't hold what's-his-face at the end of the game either. So let's call it
better. I think if you fumble the football, there's like 10 different things you can point to in the game, and the field's one of them. I think ignoring that is just being naive.
Call me naive, Kyle. So let me backtrack a little bit about what you said about the Eagles potentially having really no choice but to kind of transition back to the run game. You make it sound like it's so seamless, but yet the team has reluctantly done it all season long for whatever reason, scheme or lack of confidence, or you mentioned injuries. Kyle, I have my doubts that the Eagles would rely at any time on the run game. Now, I know Brian Johnson has had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, maybe with the weather in mind, maybe not with the weather in mind. But I don't feel that confident that it can be like a light switch and all of a sudden, oh, now we're going to go run heavy. I just don't feel that way.
Well, I think they can. I mean, they showed that they can do it earlier in the season. You remember the game against Minnesota in week 2 where they pretty much went out, pass, tried to pass, nothing was working. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Hold on. Maybe we should just run the freaking football. And literally just like that, like you just did, snap your fingers. The Eagles put up like 175 rushing yards against Minnesota because they just kept handing it to DeAndre Swift. And that was when everybody was healthy. Jalen Hurts was still his normal running self. That's when the offensive line was fully healthy. And what's going to happen this week is that Jalen Hurts is supposedly fully healthy, and the line looks like it's fully healthy. So I have a lot of reason to believe that they will be able to seamlessly transition back to the run.
Well, time will tell, and we'll just see. Let's talk about the injuries a little bit. Obviously, the Eagles still dealing with 2 major ones, Dallas Goedert on IR, Jacoby Dean on IR as well. But you mentioned the return of Cam Jurgens this week. Kyle, we haven't yet kind of started this thing without neither one of Jacoby Dean or Dallas Goedert. Maybe more so for Dallas Goedert because Jacoby Dean has pretty much played himself into irrelevance this year, in my opinion. But as we start this thing, the journey now without Dallas Goedert, what wrinkles, if any, do you see the Eagle offense doing in his absence?
Well, I think you're probably going to see a lot more involvement from Julio Jones. I'm sure they picked him up for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith insurance, but looks like he's going to have to be a little bit of Dallas Goedert insurance too. So if they had any plans of working Dallas Goedert into the red zone, I think that's what you're going to see them try to do with Julio Jones a little bit. I'm not sure if he's really a screen guy. That's something they're going to miss with Dallas Goedert. Maybe they'll try to do some running back screens a little bit more here and there. I don't know. I'm sure that they're not going to give Jack Stoll or Calcaterra or Alberto the Dallas Goedert package, so to speak. So I think it's just going to have to be sort of a mix of other guys, very talented players, sort of stepping up and just a little bit more of the load. They showed that they can do it last year. I think they can do it again.
On the Kansas City Chiefs side of things, I don't have the most. They haven't released the most updated injury report. The one I'm got is from November 5th. Richie James, the wide receiver, he's on IR, but he's actually he was coming off IR, was inactive against the Dolphins. I imagine he's back. Nick Bolton, and then Justin Ross, the other wide receiver, who's currently on IR. So not really tracking. I can't really speak intelligently about the Kansas City Chiefs injury situation. Kyle, can you enlighten me or enlighten us out there about what they may be dealing with?
I mean, from what I understand, there's nothing like it. They've had the bye week off too, so
Yeah.
nothing significant for them. At least anything that's changed, I think they're probably relatively clean, at least in terms of what's happened over the last few weeks. So,
With all that being said, Kyle, with the weather issues, with the injury issues, with the potential, obviously, no Dallas Goedert, what do you think is going to occur on this field of Jihad Stadium on Monday night?
well, I think it's going to be, like I said earlier, a little bit. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a physical game. I think it's not going to be a very high-scoring affair. The Chiefs' offense not good this year, but the Chiefs' defense has been pretty good. So I don't expect the Eagles to blow the scoreboard off with like 30 points, but do think they'll be able to get into the high 20s. And I actually think that's going to be enough for them to go down there and win this game against the Chiefs. I think the Eagles are definitely up for the challenge. I think the Eagles are a better football team than the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're playing better football than the Chiefs are this year. So I know the Chiefs might have a better defense, but the offense is more important side of the football. And that's how you win football games in 2023. So I think the Eagles are going to go down there, and I think it's going to be tough, but I think they're going to end up pulling it out.
And with all that being said, what are your 3 keys to Eagle victory?
Yeah, well, the first one is kind of like we talked about. They definitely need to run the football because the Chiefs do have susceptibility to the rushing attack. And now that Jalen Hurts is healthy and Cam Jurgens is back, I expect the Eagles to get a little bit creative and run the football a lot and hopefully run the football effectively. And even though the Chiefs offense is struggling, you do want to give Patrick Mahomes as few opportunities as you possibly can. They can do that by limiting possessions and running the football. The other thing is have a plan for Travis Kelce. I don't know who they plan on putting out there to stop Travis Kelce, but the Chiefs wide receivers suck, and Travis Kelce is the only real weapon that they have, and that's not to downplay Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce makes an enormous impact on that offense. So I don't know if they're going to try to put James Bradbury on him. They might go with Kevin Byard, who has faced Travis Kelce a bunch of times when he was with Tennessee, and I think he even matched up against him in the playoffs. Travis Kelce himself has said that Kevin Byard's given him a lot of fits when they would match up against each other. So if Byard's, he hasn't lost a step and he's caught up and acclimated to the defense over the bye week, which I'm hoping is the case, then that might be something that you look to see them do, match him up against Travis Kelce. So have a plan for him, run the football, and then don't turn the ball over. I mean, like we talked about earlier, not giving the Chiefs too many possessions. If you hang on to the football, it looks like the turnover numbers are starting to sway a little bit back into our favor. The Dallas game, hopefully they cleaned up some more things through the bye week, but you might be able to get away with winning football games against bad teams by turning the ball over. You're not going to get away with it on the road against Kansas City Chiefs. So don't turn the ball over, and if possible, force a few turnovers. And I think if they do all 3 of those things, they're going to come out and they're going to get a close win, but they're going to do it.
Yeah, my 3 keys are kind of in the same vein. My number 3 key to Eagles victory, again, kind of keying off of your Travis Kelce things. The Eagles secondary's got to find a way to lock things down. You said it yourself. The Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers, Tyreek Hill's not running around back there anymore. There's really no reason why they should be taking the lid off of the Eagles, and then keeping everything in front of them with Travis Kelce. They gotta find a way to get this thing taken care of. 28th in the league against the pass. First in the league against the run. I don't know how that works out or how that happens, but something's got to give. They got to figure out how to get more creative in pass coverage, and they got to get better with it. Because going down the stretch, Kyle, I mean, we can shoot it all we want. And in my question of the week, I'm going to kind of hit a little bit about that, but we got to get better with pass coverage. And my number 2 key to Eagle victory, again, run. There's no reason why we shouldn't be running. You can't be. I disagree with you. I don't think a one-dimensional offense, pass only, works. And I know you're not really necessarily on board with that, but the Eagles are not doing enough running. There's no There's no creativity. Defenses pin their ears back and say, okay, they're going to try to beat us with the arm or Jalen Hurts. We can pretty much take the running backs out of this. Make defenses, really regret doing that and start running the ball. And my number one key to Eagle victory is win in Kansas City, Kyle Quinn, because you know what a win in Kansas City is going to do for me? It's going to do wonders for me. And a lot of Eagle fans like me that are still on the edge of this thing, whether they want to hop on the bus or not. And a win in KC, no matter how, will go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your last point that we talked a lot about is a win a win or winning ugly? Is it a problem? There's no mistake about it that a win is a win when you go down to Kansas City. And play the Chiefs down there. And I guess, what is it, Geha or Arrowhead or whatever that is? Geha? It's ridiculous. So
my dental insurance, Kyle, they provide pretty good dental insurance. I have them.
Hopefully it's not like getting a root canal when we go down there.
There. Absolutely. All right, Kyle, with all that being said, 3 keys to Eagle victory in the books, summary in the books. What is your prediction and your score? And who is your game MVP? And remind the folks at home, we are both 7-2 in picking games this season, and we are both 1 for 9 picking the MVP, and we both got it the same week was Jalen Hurts. So give me your prediction, score, MVP.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be another big Jalen Hurts game, both in the air and on the ground. I think he actually looked excited, Matt, at his press conference today about the idea of having the brace off and having the bye week to heal. I think Jalen Hurts is licking his chops at being able to have his full arsenal under his belt, and I think the Eagles are going to need it when they go down there and play the Chiefs. So I think they're going to do that. Jalen Hurts is going to be the MVP of the football game, Matt, and the Eagles are going to win game 24-21. Close.
24-21, and Jalen Hurts. Now, you did pick Hassan Reddick once as your MVP. You picked him, I think, against the Cowboys. Yeah, you did. So you haven't gone completely with Hurts across the board. So I don't know. I guess there's something to that, Kyle. All right. Man, I mean, I could say the same guy every week too, man. Come on. I disagree. I think the Eagles lose this game, and I think they lose it somewhat convincing. I don't like the secondary. Again, coming out of this bye week, it goes, as I said, it goes a long way if they can find a way to win this game, but I just don't think they have enough horses in that secondary. Pat Mahomes is still Pat Mahomes. Travis Kelce, you mentioned, he might be one of the only weapons Kansas City has. That's a hell of a weapon to have, and he's a game changer. He might be top 3 of all time best tight ends ever to play the game, maybe top 5. I don't want to disrespect Junior Seau or any of those guys, or those types of tight ends, but I'm gonna go with Kansas City 38-31, and Pat Mahomes is my MVP.
I mean, I'll tell you what, dropping 31 on that Kansas City defense would be a very impressive feat for the Eagles this year. I'm not saying I come with a moral victory. I don't think the secondary are world beaters by any chance, but I think it's being very much blown just how people act like this defense is debilitating or is not a championship caliber defense, so to speak. I find that completely and utterly false.
So based on that statement, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I could pull them up if I want, but when we were at this stage of the season last year, Bradbury, Slay, it stops right there. They were having, other than worldly seasons, they are significantly not that good or not that way this year. Then you take away the linebackers. I mean, I hate to give Kazir White and those guys and TJ Edwards a lot of credit, but we actually had the secondary figured out for one season, and finally it was working for just 1 year, and now we've gone back down to purgatory. Kyle, I disagree. I think the secondary is going to be the reason why we cannot fulfill our destiny this year.
Well, I mean, look, there could be a lot of different reasons why the Eagles might not win the Super Bowl. It's really hard to win the Super Bowl, but it should be known that the Chiefs had the 29th ranked passing defense in the NFL last season when they won the Super Bowl. We allowed 33 points to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl that we won back in 2017. I'll say this because I know everyone's freaking out about the pass defense and the quarterback rating against this defense and the yards allowed. Those stats are all cute, Matt, but the points per game that they're not allowing teams in the end zone that much. They allow 21 points per game, this Eagles defense, which isn't crazy. It's not the defenses of yore with the 90s and Buddy Ryan, the ones that you so fondly look back on, but it's enough
of yore
points. This Eagles offense that can win us a football game, can it not? 21 points. So, and yeah. look back at the last 5 Super Bowl winners. That's only as far. I didn't want to go back 20 years. You're more than welcome to do that. But look at what their defensive points per game allowed was. The Eagles are right on par with all of those: 22, 21, 20, 19. Like, the Eagles are allowing 21 points per game this year. In 2023 in the National Football League, while the Eagles are putting up 30 points per game, they can win the Super Bowl with that defense.
Kyle, I'm not saying that they can't, but again, I just, and I hate to say it, I guess I felt more comfortable or confident heading, down the stretch last year when we were playing a cream puff schedule down the stretch. And
of course, they're playing the cream puffs. We're playing the Chiefs. Strap in, big guy. Come on.
Well, I remember the bet, Kyle. I still honor the bet if they go 6-0 through this, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, but I hope I'm wrong. Again, I preface everything by saying I hope I'm wrong. Kyle, before I let you go, I'm going to hit you with the question of the week. It kind of ties everything that we've been talking to together. I don't know if you saw my show on Monday. You probably did. You just don't remember. I'll refresh your memory. But on my day in Philadelphia sports history, there was nothing really that hot on November 13th, but there was an interesting stat on November 14th. So I went to that. So on November 14th, 1994, Kyle, I don't know if you were watching the Eagles back in 94. I know I was. And I was, I was a ripe young 21-year-old. World was, way out in front of me and all that. Not like today. But the Eagles lost 26-7 to the Cleveland Browns. And why I mention that is because that was the first game of a 7-game losing streak to end the 1994 season. We were 7-2 heading into that game, and we would go 0-7 the rest of the way, not making the playoffs. Rich Kotite mercifully got fired, and then it kind of, Ray Rhodes, Andy Reid, and here we are. But the reason why I bring it up, and I thought it was interesting that it happened to just kind of lay into this time frame as well, Kyle. There's a lot of overconfidence. There's a lot of, hey, let's not even play the second half of the season. Let's get right to the playoffs, get right to the Super Bowl, and let's bring the trophy home. Kyle Quinn, the question I have for you, are we fooling ourselves to believing that there's not 8 games left or 7 or 8 games, how many games there are left, and that this season could turn? I'm not saying it's going to happen. No one predicts a 7-game losing streak. I sure as hell didn't expect one back in 94. And I don't expect one now. But is the overconfidence from some of the fan base, the majority of the fan base, concerning you about this team right now at the halfway point?
No, nothing that the fan base gets overconfident in ever concerns me whatsoever. It's all about whether the guys on the field are taking this seriously and know that they have flaws. And I mean, every time you hear Jason Kelsey talk, he says we have flaws. Like, he doesn't say, "Oh, we have stuff to clean up." The old, like the mouth of the lip service that a lot of guys give you. He says, no, we have flaws. This team is flawed. They all know that they're flawed. So I think as long as the team understands that they have flaws so far at this point in the season, then it's okay. It doesn't matter what the fans think. And I mean, the Kotite thing, 94, whatever. I mean, we have a more recent example of literally like 90% of all of these players on this roster being 8-1 last season and not going on a 7-game losing streak. Now, granted, I know this is a gauntlet coming up, but I think everybody should be prepared for the fact that this is going to be freaking tough. This isn't just going to be a cakewalk. The Eagles are going to blow the doors off all these teams. I'm hoping that the Eagles come out of it on the top with the number 1 seed by the time they get out of it. And I think they're definitely capable of doing that. But of course, I mean, you have no idea what's going to happen. The NFL is a long season, and this is just really the season starts now. So I think this is what we've been looking at for the whole off season. We said this stretch is going to be really tough, and that hasn't changed. That usually it changes. It hasn't. So I mean, look, I'm looking forward to it. This is what everyone kind of wanted last year. Like, not playing good teams. Here they are. Get ready.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with your statement that the season starts today or now. Absolutely. We've made it to that part of the schedule where this is time to put up or shut up. And the Eagles are 1 game through the gauntlet, and let's see if they can get further through it with a win against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night. Kyle Quinn, kind of a short show tonight, Kyle. We don't really have much to break down. There's no game to talk about from last week. We already broke the Cowboy game down. Chiefs were coming off of a win, a eker against the Lions, 21-20, before they went into the bye. One last question. Anything about the Andy Reid mystique? Does this little unbeaten streak against the Eagles, does that come to an end on Monday night? I mean, obviously you think it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. I guess if your question's more about, like, do I feel like a revenge factor in this game? I mean, a little bit. I think at the very least we should be aware that if we think that this Eagles window is for whatever the next 5 years or this or that, the Kansas City Chiefs ain't going anywhere. So they're going to be in our way. If we want to win Super Bowls and we want to be this dominant team over this window, then we got to be able to beat Kansas City, and we got to be able to beat Andy and Patrick Mahomes. So I think at the very least, that's why this game is huge Monday.
And then once that is out of the way, we will then host the Buffalo Bills, who fired their offensive coordinator last week. Ken Dorsey's out. Joe Brady, the interim offensive coordinator. We'll save all that for fun for next week. Boy, what has happened to the Buffalo Bills? Super Bowl contender heading into the season, and now a dumpster fire there in Western New York. So, all right, Kyle, before I let you go, where can the folks find you out there?
Yep, on Twitter, Kyle_Quinn WIP. I guess it's X now. I can never get that out of my head. Still twitter.com in the URL, but and 94.1 WIP in the midday show 10 to 2 every weekday, Monday through Friday. So that's where you can check me out. All
right, Kyle, enjoy the rest of your Saturday and the rest of your weekend, and we will talk again next week. And if I don't talk to you before that, happy Thanksgiving, Kyle Quinn.
Oh, yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you, Matt, and go Birds, buddy.
Go Birds, man. All right, Kyle Quinn, as always, another great episode of the Birds Blast. Definitely not as hostile tonight, as we really have a little bit of time separating the last Eagle game into this one. I'm sure those feelings will change next week, but there you have it. My prediction, 38-31, Eagles will fall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I just don't think the Eagles have enough horses in the secondary stable to put up with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Granted, yes, it is not your father's Chiefs. It is not Tyreek Hill running around back there. But I just think that the Eagles right now have way too many issues in the secondary. Perhaps the bye week changed all that. Hopefully I'm wrong and that they come out with a victory on Monday night. But right now I feel the Eagles will lose 38-31. But you know what? Who's not a loser? And that's the Edge of Philly Sports. Again, this is Saturday, so your Birds blasting with me. And then a little bit later this afternoon, the Flyers, who will, once they finish up their matinee, game starts in about a half hour. You'll get some clear of the ice with the Golden Knights. And then we have you covered on Sunday, even though there's no Eagles game yet. We got you covered with some PM and the AM to get processed Sixers post game. More clear on the ice as the Flyers going back-to-back this weekend, and then some lacrosse with the fellas on Sunday evening. So make sure you're tuning in, and also make sure that you're checking out Philly Sports Trips. If you want to travel like the pros, if you want to go in style, if you want to really experience the true meaning of life of an Eagle Sports or a Philadelphia sports fan, head over to phillysportstrips.com and check out all they have to offer. It'll change your life. I promise you that. www.phillysportstrips.com. And then the ones at 24 East Sellers Ave in Ridley Park. Quizzo, music, great times, memorabilia giveaways, and you never know who might walk through the front door. Tell PJ and the crew EOP sent you. Sherry's Tickets Town for the best prices, no hidden fees for sports, concerts, theater tickets. www.sherrystickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Save an additional 10% when you enter the promo code EOP10. And our boy Dave Cherry for workman's compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law. Dave Cherry at 610-565-0300, cherryinjurylaw.com. Folks, that is going to wrap me up here on the Birds Blast with our boy Kyle Quinn. I hope you had a great Philadelphia sports week. It's just getting started here, so strap on. And we got some Eagles, we got some Chiefs, we got Flyers for you, we got Sixers, we got it all here on EOP. So make sure you're staying tuned for that and everything else until we talk again next week. Go Birds.